Let me know what you want for music today.
It's all things legal.
Let's do
with
some
Doug
NFL
Sunseri
music.
and Albert
I'll do some NFL film stuff.
Yeah, let's do that.
Sunseri Law Firm. Join us on the
I'll see what we got in store.
Talk and Text line 504-260-1870 or connect anytime, anywhere on the Odyssey app. Now to our Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union studios in the heart of New Orleans. Here are attorneys Albert Nicaud and Doug Sunseri.
Hey, good morning. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, your weekend lawyers, all things legal. Just call 260-1870 or text us in the Oakland Heart Talk and Text line 260-1870. Good morning, Albert.
Hey, Doug, what's up this morning?
Football is in the 98-degree air today, so
yeah,
all's good. And you watched the game last night.
Get to watch the game last night?
Yes. It's always good to win. It's better to win, even though preseason really doesn't matter as far as the final score is concerned. But you just get a little better feeling overall when you win. It gives you a little, it's just better. And so I thought it was a typical preseason game. I think the big story was Spencer Rattler and Jake Haener. Looking like they were not overwhelmed by the opportunity, and they looked like that they were making little small steps that could possibly indicate that they would be NFL quality quarterbacks. Or,
yep.
Now.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch. We had plans last night, but I did record it, so
well,
probably gonna spend my afternoon.
Well, yeah. Well, if yeah,
and I can fast forward through it.
I think if you give a general assessment, Haener had a good stat line, was a more of a game manager, made some good decisions on some good throws, as opposed to Spencer Rattler, who was he looks like he just has it intangibly somewhat. In other words, he looks like he's got a better arm than Haener. He's got some good scrambling ability. He just looks like he's got a little bit more of the it factor. And it seems to me that if I was able to give a very early assessment, Jake Haener would be like a Frank Reich or Gary Kubiak type quarterback, where they're very got the potential to be a game manager, backup type player. Now he threw a nice bomb to A.T. Perry at the end of the first half with about 18 seconds left on his own 12-yard line, on 20-yard line. But Rattler looks like he has some skills that are NFL caliber. I mean, as far as really good skills.
I'm a defensive back, and again, I didn't watch yesterday, but I'm a little more concerned about the throws Rattler can make and what he can do and his scrambling ability
right.
and his ability to make plays. I think the other aspect of it hopefully will come. His ability to stay in the pocket, control, not look to run first, let the play develop, those kinds of things that a quarterback needs. Then I think he's going to have some longevity in the NFL.
I think it was a positive step. I mean, I'm not, we're not putting the gold coat on him, sending him to the Hall of Fame or anything like that. But he looks like he has a skill set that potentially he could be a quarterback. And it's just a matter of harnessing that skill set. Now, if you had 5 years ago when Rattler came out of high school, most analysts or scouts would have said that they would expect Rattler to be a first-round pick. That was the trajectory he was on when he went to Oklahoma, and that was sort of. And then he had some issues. I say issues. I think he didn't progress in college like they thought he would, but he had the physical ability. Now, what I'm saying is, Rattler has first round ability or second round ability, but due to some of the twists and turns in his college career, he was back in the fifth round when he got picked. Now, having first round ability could mean you're Peyton Manning or Ryan Leaf or Josh Rosen or Josh Allen. So it doesn't indicate that you're going to be successful, but he has some skill sets that he could really be successful. I think it would serve him well to sit maybe at least 1 or 2 years before you really count on him as making any type of contribution. But that was positive. And Haener looked like he has pretty good decision making. He's sort of a little guy. I mean, for a quarterback, and he looked good. I mean, he just managed the game okay, and he just wasn't overwhelmed by the situation. So that was a positive. I mean, for the future, because if the Saints are going to have any chance in the future of getting out of salary cap hell, or any chance in the future into becoming a contender, they're going to have to find a quarterback, a Brock Purdy type quarterback that you can pay him a couple $1 million and get a $20 million performance or a $30 million performance, a $50 million performance.
Did Carr play last night?
Yes, he played first 2 series, 2 for 6, 12 yards. The first team was playing against Arizona's second team, and they looked very the two 3 and out basically wasn't.
Oh, really?
It wasn't very good. Now I don't think you can take a lot from it. Now when he started the first preseason game last year he was 6 for 8 for like 70 yards and a touchdown. They didn't look good at all. Pennington looked bad. I mean, Pennington looked bad. Now, Pennington's an interesting. Penning. The offensive tackle.
Yeah. Oh, you mean the lineman?
Yeah, I'm saying Pennington. Penning looked bad. He just doesn't look like he has the feet. In other words, I mean, he looks great all the way up until his national anthem. I mean, he looks like the part. But when he gets out there, it just doesn't look like he has the skills foot-wise. I remember back 35 years ago, there was a coach, Joe Clark. He was from the Bayou, and he coached the Green Bay Packers. And he used to drill offensive linemen, or he would scout some. And he would do one drill with the offensive linemen in their feet. And as soon as he saw that drill, he waved them off. If a college prospect who wanted to be pros, he'd wave them off. And he did a couple of drills with the feet. And he said, "Look, I don't care. I don't care. From your ankles up, how good you are. You don't have the feet. You're not going to. You won't have the leverage. You won't be able to move." And it was sort of interesting to watch him evaluate, because he was like an old Grizzly assistant coach who saw the new,
Right.
And Penning does not. I just don't think. Now, I just don't think he has it. And here's
he hadn't had it the last 2 years. I mean, he was hurt his first season. The second season, he looked terrible. Did they play him at tackle or guard?
Tackle. They played him tackle.
Okay.
I think if he's going to make it, at least if he's a guard, he would have some help on both sides. I don't think he can be out in the island. And I think the decision has to be made is this. And we all do this. When we invest in something and it turns out to be a bad deal or not working, we have a tendency to hold on to try to make it work when it's apparent it's not going to work. And then you make more problems by trying to hold on to that. So it could be it could be in business, it could be in personal relationships, it could be, in this case, football. A lot of teams will draft someone high, and then he's not performing, probably needs to be cut. They don't want to do it because it might be an indictment on their scouting department or whoever pulled the trigger. So they're going to try to make it work, and it makes it worse. The question will be this. If Penning plays 3 preseason games and he has the same performance, do you try to make something that's never going to work take up a roster spot or you cut bait and you just try to, start all over again.
Yeah, it's year 3, and granted he was injured for one of them, but he just, Penner's not the guy. And again, I mean, I think, the Saints will do that, and I mean, I think you can sometimes do it. Meaning what you can do is go grab somebody that does not play Division I football and say, oh, this guy, he's the real deal. Where, you're a man among boys for a reason. You're playing against the third string basically all through college. And so, you're not going to look that great. And I mean, to get to the big pro players, it's rough.
Well, would you drafting on potential? What is the ceiling? It's like if you have a daughter and they're going to marry a guy who's you're not sure about, but you're going to marry him on his potential. Okay, you're like, that's a risk because if he stays where he is, or he doesn't hit the ceiling, I mean, you're gonna have a slug for a son-in-law.
Not a first round.
But
he's not a first rounder.
But but basically, when they drafted him, they drafted him based on thinking he had a higher ceiling, but he also had a lower floor. And in a first round pick, I mean, there's different philosophies. Sometimes they say, should you try to hit the grand slam or get a stand-up double? That's a philosophy of each draft room. But he, if he continues on this progression or trajectory, I mean, at some point, the Saints are going to have to say, do we have to just cut bait and just start with someone else?
The problem is, who else do you have?
Right.
I mean,
well,
I don't know what the backups look like and where, what their potential is. And
right.
And it's a shame. I don't know that they necessarily really addressed it during free agency.
No, they didn't. Now, I think Talieso Fuaga looked very good for switching positions. He looked like he belonged there. And he, sort of maintained his technique, got pushed around a little bit, but he held it. I think he could be pretty good. I mean, I think he's a solid pick. Yeah. He's polished. You see, he was picked 4 picks higher, I think 4 or 5 picks higher in Penning. But he was a polished, he came from a Power 5 program. He's just a polished player. And he you have to refine him rather than.
It's a Power program.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
And I mean, that's the difference. It's a Power 5. I'm playing against the best of the best at my level for years. And so that just only makes you better. If I'm the king of the hill, I'm going to look great on film. Yeah. And then when I get to the next level, I'm really not.
Yeah.
And all of my weaknesses will be exposed.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And I think in looking at this year's team, the strength will be the defense. That's Dennis Allen's forte, and I think that's his personality. But they may be a little above average for defensively. Willie Gay looked very good flying around. Brian Breezy looked good. Kool-Aid McKinley looks like he belongs there. I think they will be pretty good defensively. It's just a matter of offense. I just don't see them having. They got a.
The weak link in the whole defense. The aging, undersized honey badger. I can't understand why he's still in the NFL.
I don't think so.
Why he's still?
Well, I think he's got a role. I think he's got a role.
I watched him on defense many games last year, and he was just running behind people. He's gotten slower. He doesn't have that aggression anymore. That nose for the football that made him a better player than his size. And he's lost a step. He's lost that tenacity. He's kind of mailing it in almost, or doing the best he can for his physical skills at his age.
I think
he needs to go. I don't know why they don't have young safeties or moving, or maybe somebody aging a little bit at corner, move them into that safety position, because he got beat so bad so often.
Well, they did bring in. Yeah, they brought in Justin Simmons this week, who's an All-Pro safety who was let go for salary cap reasons, and Justin Howden looks like he's going to be a safety, and it's a little competition there. I think they'll be.
I hope so.
I think they'll be okay. They'll be a little above average on defense. Offense is going to be the challenge. Their offensive line is patchwork. Wide receiver, they got Olave is a good receiver. Not great yet. He's good. Rashid is potentially could be good, but they don't really have anybody. A.T. Perry seems to be a gamer because Dennis Allen complains about him not practicing, but when he plays, he seems to make some plays. Tight end, they got Foster Moreau, who's a serviceable tight end, but he's not a game changer. I mean, God bless him, he's from New Orleans, and we love it. But he's not someone he's very serviceable and a good tight end, but probably more of a second tight end.
It's all about the guys in the trenches, Doug. Because if
right,
all
the
of
point
a
of it,
sudden,
right.
if all of a sudden, your quarterback's got that extra second to throw the football, it gives that wide receiver that extra second to gain a little space between the defender, and everybody gets better. Everybody's better when your offensive line is great and your defensive.
And that's the big. That's going to be the biggest challenge. In fact, sort of going back to Nick Salvaderi, who was the 4th round pick last year. He's been hurt. He's not. They thought he might. They tried to give him an opportunity to be first team. Now this is interesting from last year's draft. Kendre Miller didn't play, chronically hurt. Thank goodness Buddy DiLiberto isn't alive right now, because I think Kendre Miller would be on his list about can't make it in the tub or get off the bike, but he's not making it. Foskey, the 2nd round pick from Notre Dame, just doesn't look like he belongs. I think it seems like that Foskey's too small to be a defensive end, and not really a linebacker. He just seems to be in nowhere land, and he hasn't made any strides to flash to even give any indication that he's going to be a contributor. So that's a little disappointing. Hainer from last year's draft's doing okay. Breeze is doing okay, and A.T. Perry looks like he's doing okay. So we'll see. That's part of preseason. You see who's progressing and who's not progressing. I think it was good. I mean, it was okay. I guess we'll see against the 49ers next week. Arizona's not a good team. New coach. They were bad last year. And, I think the biggest takeaway is the first team wasn't able to do much against their second team. And I understand it's a new offense, and, you got to give some time for that. And so we'll see. I mean, it's just the first preseason game. But mostly look for individual performances and people who are flashing.
And that's what I do. And, recall for years and years, I love preseason. I love to see, to find that diamond in the rough that's just outperforming what everybody expected, making the team. And, and let me tell you, if I'm your head coach, I'm on my first string to look sharp, to run those plays like they're supposed to be run. I don't want to run up a big score in the first 2 series. I want to look sharp. I want to, no mistakes. We're going to go out there and, you're only in for 2 series. Get out there, give it your all, play hard. Let's go move the football like we're supposed to move it. And it sounds like that didn't happen last night.
Yeah. So. All right. Well, let's take a break. It's Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, your weekend lawyers, all things legal. We'll be right back after this brief timeout.
WWL, home of your New Orleans Saints. Always live on the
Doug,
But
do I have to give you a lesson on some of these names?
I know. Penning, is it right?
Penning.
Yes.
It's Kool-Aid McKinstry.
I said McKinstry.
To McKinsley, I think.
McKinstry.
Brzee.
Proceed.
You said Justin Howden, not Jordan Howden.
Jordan Howden.
But I do think Justin Simmons could be a really good. I don't know if we'll get him, but I think he could be a game changer. I don't know, man. I'm not super down on Penny. Not yet. I really am.
Is the IRS on your back? Hi, this is Kate.
Has he fallen below expectations? Yes, but I don't think he looked terrible last night. I don't think he looked as bad as you and Albert think.
Owing the IRS can be scary, but you don't have to do it alone. Give us a call today at 985-722-1040.
Yeah.
Let us give you peace of mind. Or go
I think they're going to kill him
when
they get.
That's
he gets against those elite rushers.
tax resolution.
Well, no, I mean, that's the thing is that if he goes against elite rushers, we might be screwed because he's getting his. I mean, we're saying it without saying it, but he gets his ass handed to him by Chase Young, and Chase Young is good, but he's not Max Crosby. He's not he's not T.J. Watt, the Micah Parsons. Like if he goes against those guys, like most of our line would probably fall flat.
Yeah.
Or go tax.
So I do agree that I think the biggest takeaways I had last night were Hainer looked good, Rattler also looked good. Hainer looked better and consistent and had a higher floor, but Rattler does look like, and maybe I want to believe it, but Rattler does look like he has the intangibles. Maybe I want to believe that he has the intangibles. Maybe I want to believe that we struck our Patrick Mahomes. Maybe I'm, fingers crossed, 4 years from now, I'm praying that happens. But also, like, I was genuinely, it wasn't too much of a sample size, and I have to give them the caveat of the new offense.
Right.
I was disappointed by the first two drives our offense had. Like, a 3-and-out that went 0 yards and a 6-and-out that went 18 yards. Like, I was disappointed. You're going against the Cardinals. If it was truly their second team, that's even less of an excuse. Like, come on. I'm not asking for like a 80-yard touchdown, but our first string, I just don't. They should have done more than 2 drives where they did nothing but go 18 yards on one after 6 plays and 0 yards on the other.
Right. No, I agree. I mean, I think it's.
got this. Just breathe.
Well, it's just one. I'm not totally optimistic with Carl, but.
Learn about a dog.
I still am. I'm with Albert on this. I still think he's
a bad offensive line.
We got to have some more iteration of this offense with him.
Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
All things legal on WWL.
We're coming back.
Consult with Nico and Sunseri now on the Oakland Heart Jewelers Talk and Text line, 504-260-1870. And don't forget to rewind on the Odyssey app.
Hey, we're back. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, you weekend lawyers. I grew up being a great disciple of Buddy Diliberto, and just crazy about him. He's been gone for almost 19 years, but unfortunately, in listening to him all these years, I have retained some of his wonderful qualities, such as butchering people's names. So it's not Justin Howden, it's Jordan Howden. So I'm just trying to keep Buddy's spirit.
It's not Pennington or Penning. It's Penner.
Penner. There you go.
Penner.
I thought it was Penning.
I thought it was Penning. It's Penning.
It's Penning.
It's Penning.
Penning.
Yeah,
Penning.
Penner.
Yeah,
Albert, you got Buddy D's, misremembering as well.
And then I call it Kool-Aid. Now, I got the first part right. Kool-Aid was McKinstry.
Yes.
So I'm keeping it alive here in WWL, just butchering names. I hadn't said Dante Stahlpepper, but I was pretty close. So
and the Beau Virage, that was always good.
No,
we're broadcasting from the Beau Virage.
Yeah,
buddy.
He would say this: we're broadcasting from the Beau Virage, and we got Wabi from River Ridge. Want to talk about the Cleveland Browns, and so that was probably the R's or. But thank you, buddy. We miss you and we love you, and your spirit lives on. I'm a historian, and for Saints, and I remember this as a kid. In 1969, we played the then St. Louis Cardinals, and it was a game where the Saints had won 51-42. I don't know if you remember that game. And Billy Kilmer threw for 6 touchdowns. 345 yards. Now, throwing for 345 yards in 1969 was like a huge
It was a
deal.
big deal.
Because, you know,
Yeah.
because even it's sort of funny when I think it was either Eli Manning or Cooper Manning looked at Archie Manning's stats, who was all-world, would have been a Heisman Trophy winner if he didn't get hurt his senior year. He's like, Dad, your stats weren't very good because they just didn't throw the ball back then. And
Right.
so they had, yes, it was one of those games that was just probably one of the games of the years in 1969 in the NFL, just during the regular season. Billy Kilmer threw 6 touchdown passes. Al Dodd, remember them? Caught for 145 yards. Danny O'Brien had 2 touchdowns. Dave Parks had 202 touchdowns, and Tony Baker had 110 yards. And it was in fact, it was the NFL game of the week because you take one game every week and they would show it on Saturday afternoons. It was a half an hour little deal. So that was probably the greatest Saints-Cardinals game in Saints history. So if you can remember that game, you're old.
There's another one that I took down memory lane. The Saints played the Cardinals for their first home preseason game when they first were the Phoenix Cardinals in Arizona.
Oh, I remember that. I do remember. 1988.
The first time the Cardinals hosted a game in Arizona was a home game against the Saints. Saints won 38-28.
And I do remember that because of my senior year in law school. And that was sort of like, huh? Arizona Cardinals? What is that all about?
Yeah, they were Phoenix Cardinals at that point.
Yeah, Phoenix. They were. And that was sort of, huh? We just sort of to see them in the desert like that was sort of out of place because the Cardinals were great in the 70s. They had Don Coryell, and they had that first sort of great. Well, they were Jim Hart, Mel Gray. They were going up and down the field passing, and they just couldn't get past the first round of the playoffs. The Cowboys had Fitz with them during the regular season. Very, very exciting, and sort of the air raid type of offense, the first in the NFL. So when they were transitioning from running to passing, or passing to running. But there you go. Albert, I want to talk a little bit about, I was watching some of the commercials during the Saints game, and they had the insurance commissioner on talking about insurance reform for homeowners. And, it's a very complex problem because I think the ultimate solution to the problem is not to have hurricanes for another 40 years. For the most part, from 1960...
That pretty much sums it up. Yeah.
But from 1965 to 2005, the Greater New Orleans area was not large. We had a couple of close calls, but we were not really largely affected by hurricanes. And we had a nice little reprieve. And then starting in 2005, we started getting, it seems like there's a change in the weather pattern. And a lot, with the last 2 hurricanes, Ida and Laura before that, there's a lot of, I guess, we need to do something. We need a solution. And sometimes the cure can be worse than the underlying disease in some ways. And I think it's very simplistic to say, and I'm not saying this self-serving because I've worked on both sides of this issue just like you, to say, well, there's too many claims being paid out. There's too many lawsuits being paid out. We need to limit the ability for recovery or limit the ability for a homeowner to exert their full rights under their policy if there is a loss. And, I think some of the knee-jerk reactions to how you do this may cause more harm than good. And I think, there's a lot of, I guess not complaints, but concerns. Well, the penalties and attorney's fees for not paying enough is punitive to the insurers. And so therefore they're less likely to write here. And so, there was, whether you should modify those penalties and attorney's fees or not, and some other issues, along the line. And I was just, listened to some of the comments by the insurance commissioner. He had some very good points, but I think, you got to be careful about skewing the law too much for the insurance companies, because the payouts are going to get more difficult for the homeowners to get. Much like we're dealing with LIGA right now. They don't have penalties, and then they don't have attorney's fees. They don't have any incentive to pay out claims, even from 3 years ago, because they're not sanctioned for not getting money out that they should get out. And so, I was just, I don't know that there's really a legislative solution that people, or a magic bullet that's going to solve this problem. I mean, I think the ultimate resolution is going to be if we just don't get hit by hurricanes for a while and be able to catch our breath.
Well, we had you were out of town.
Yeah, and we had Kirk Talbert. Yeah,
we had Kirk Talbot on, and we had a whole show about this, and we talked extensively about it. And there are a few things that, for those that missed that program, there are a few things that we brought up, and I especially did, because we've been doing this since 2005 and before. So one of the big issues with some of the legislative changes, for instance, Citizens, right, the last resort,
right,
insurer. I agree. We probably should not have the extent of penalties against Citizens, but there needs to be some sort of hammer, some sort of relief that a homeowner can get if an insurer just arbitrarily says, you know what, we're not paying it, or they just, screw up your claim so bad and they don't call you back and you're months and months and months waiting. There's nothing that, that will punish that adjuster or punish that insurer, or have somebody say, hey, look, we've got this budget we've got to meet. You guys need to settle these claims because they're just getting worse as they sit. And so even a 10% penalty or a 15% penalty or some sort of something that the homeowner can allege against them. And the same thing with, with the regular carriers, right? I don't think it's a bad idea at all to have a proof of loss document.
Yeah, I think that's good.
That everybody, I think that's a great idea, because, the law has been, whether or not the insured, the homeowner has submitted satisfactory proof of loss is a question of fact. So now all of a sudden, that doesn't help the homeowner or the insurer. Hey, did they do this right? And now am I supposed to respond? So I think that's a great idea. They've done some things to really help bring some folks into the market. Again, I think this was an opportunity for the insurance companies to kind of have their way with the state and say, okay, well, we want this, 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 and this, and then maybe we'll come back in, or maybe we'll lower our rates. Well, I'm not, they've made these changes, and now we're stuck with it, at least for this legislative year, at least for this hurricane season. And I'm not seeing the insurance companies running back into the state, and I'm not seeing people's insurance premiums drop. There was a big chat on Facebook in Metairie about how there's so many houses for sale in the old Metairie area, and so many houses for sale. Well, certainly in New Orleans, but that could be a combination of politics, et cetera. But there's so many houses for sale because people just can't afford their house note anymore. They borrowed money at the 2.5%, 3.5%, whatever it was, and said, okay, I can afford this much house on a monthly basis. Well, now all of a sudden they're paying an extra $400, $500, $600 a month in homeowners insurance. So it's gotten out of hand, and I think our insurance commissioner needs to go revisit some of these groups, fly back to London, fly back to wherever he's got to go, and say, hey, look, we went to you and said, what do we need to do? And this is what you told us. So where are we in terms of your willingness to write more coverage and homeowners policies, and where are we in relation to your lowering the rates and getting it more competitive? And I think the answer is, you know what, guys, we're going to sit these next 2 or 3 years out, and if it looks like we don't have a storm for a while, then maybe we'll jump back in. And that's not helping anybody. And all it does is make the homeowner's position a little less strong against the insurance company, and then it gives them that advantage when they do come back in. I mean, I recall after Katrina, the vast majority of the claims, especially in Orleans Parish, were flood claims. And so, there was some wind claims, no question about it. It was pretty extensive, but the vast majority were flood claims. Well, now all of a sudden, these insurers were saying, "Oh, we lost all this money. We got to raise our rates." Then they raised their rates, and there wasn't a real storm. I mean, Rita followed up, and you had, Gustav way down, here or there, but there was nothing substantial across the state, and they got the benefit of those extremely inflated rates for years and years and years without having to pay a substantial amount of claims, and now all of a sudden they get hit a year or two in a row, and they jump out of the game, and that's that's kind of a problem.
Okay.
I think they need to.
Yeah, we got to go to a break. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, your weekend lawyers, will continue this discussion on sort of insurance and what's the real solution if there is one, right after this brief timeout.
WWL invites you to the NOLA Pickle Fest.
It is genuinely shitty that the catch-all is just no hurricanes and we're safe. It's super cut and dry, but it also isn't.
Yeah, I mean it's very complicated.
And more.
Obviously, everything would be perfect if no hurricanes happen.
Well, that's
but how do you?
Picklefest.com.
I'm saying, how do you?
Picklefest.com.
How do you make the industry in a sustainable state?
There's no way out. I'm Chuck McDowell,
That's
founder of Wesley
very
Financial
tough.
Group, the original
It's a very
timeshare cancellation
complex.
expert. And I'm here to tell you that there is a way out.
Very,
All you
very
need to do is
complex,
give my office a call. I will send you a timeshare exit
issue.
information.
It's like
okay, I believe you
healthcare.
two
It's
can tackle
healthcare.
Explaining how
you and Albert. There's nobody else better fitted to deal with the issue at hand.
For your free info kit, 800-790-1400. 800-790-1400.
Hi, I'm Angie Hicks, co-founder of Angie. When you use Angie for your home projects, you know all your jobs will be done well. Roof repair? Done well. Kitchen sink install? Done well. Deck upgrades? Done well. Electrical upgrade? Done well. Angie's been connecting homeowners with skilled pros.
We'll have a good chunk of time here. I think we're back at 57 and a half.
Certified
47, huh?
Good 5-6 minutes here.
Yeah.
This is Attorney Doug Sunseri, host of All Things Legal on Sunday morning.
This is Attorney Michelle Demarest Sunseri. Many are experiencing unique family law difficulties resulting in divorce and custody issues.
Also, we learn the importance of estate planning, wills, and powers of attorney.
At Nicaud and Sunseri Law Firm, we make the complex understandable.
Call me at my Metairie office at 504-837-1304.
Or call me, the boss lady, on the North Shore in Mandeville at 985-624-9697. 5-624-9697.
Boss lady, really?
Celebrate financial freedom. Diversify your assets with Southern Coins. SCPM.com.
You can host the best backyard barbecue. You find a professional on Angie to make your backyard the best around.
What do you want on this back end music-wise?
Connect with skilled
NFL
professionals
films.
to get all
NFL
your
films,
home
still rocking
projects
with that?
done
All right.
well.
Yeah.
Inside to outside, repairs to renovations. Get started on the Angie app or visit Angie.com today. You can do this when you Angie that.
This week is going to be the week that they have all those joint practices with the 49ers, too, by the way.
Yes.
Done from
Yes.
anywhere. That's why I partnered with Beacon.
And then we play them Sunday night in San Francisco. So that will be it's also going to be nationally televised. All eyes will be on us.
And neither do they.
Yep.
Now through September 15th.
So we won't be able to talk about that game until 2 weeks from now.
$1,500. Go to
Coming back.
BECN.com. or download the Beacon Pro Plus app today. Beacon, always building.
All things legal on WWL-AMFM.com and the Odyssey app. Connect with Doug Sunseri and Albert Nicaud on the Oakland Heart Jewelers Talk and Text line, 504-260-1870.
Hey, we're back. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, your weekend lawyers, all things legal. We're just talking a little bit about homeowners insurance. You know, what is the solution? Is there a legislative solution? It's a very, very complex problem because, first of all, a lot of the problems were caused by what's happened in the last 50 or 60 years in, so cutting the waterways in South Louisiana for the oil exploration. And, a lot of time, I think when they originally settled in New Orleans, they wanted to settle in a place where there was enough land to knock down a lot of these storms before it got to New Orleans. And, we did have storms, but they were greatly mitigated because they had gone over land. But, anybody who's flown out of Louis Armstrong Airport east, they're like, and you're looking down from 20,000 feet, you're like, son of a gun, the Gulf of Mexico is on the doorstep of New Orleans. And so we don't have that barrier anymore that we once had, years ago, that would have that protection. So that's one of the complications. Another complication, another example of that is when Hurricane Ida came ashore around between Thibodeau and Houma in that area. It really wasn't knocked down because it had so much marshland there. I mean, it was almost still over. It didn't weaken over land because it had so much marshland and water to draw itself on. It maintained a lot of its strength. So you have that problem, but I think ultimately the solution is fate, not to have a hurricane for a couple of years, and some of the insurance companies can exhale and say, well, we think we can make some money here by writing some policies, and we're not going to be at such a risk.
Right. Well, that's been an issue, the whole coastal erosion thing. It's always a fight between the commercial and even, all fishermen to, the oystermen, the shrimpers, the whatever else. Obviously, the closer in, the easier it is to catch those fish with the saltier water, but then the saltier water erodes the marshlands and everything else. And so, honestly, the nutria, I mean, you don't want to really think about it, but the nutria really tear up the marsh. They're not carnivores, they're vegetarians, and they eat that marsh grass like crazy. And they've been released into the wild, and they're chewing it up basically. I mean, there's a lot of factors and different diversions and different plans on how to build that back up, which I think would help tremendously. But again, look, you're going to have wind, right? But it's not going to, hopefully that 140 mile an hour wind gets knocked down to 90 miles an hour, and it's more easily dealt with. So honestly, I think, again, if anyone is out there that has not had a new roof or is in the process of getting a new roof put on, you really, really need to look into that fortified roof program and, spend the extra few $1,000s to get a fortified roof put on. And it will make so much difference in not just, it's supposed to make a big difference in your insurance premium, but we really haven't seen that yet. And then it's also, it's also going to make a substantial difference in your claim that you may have, because if your roof stays on, then 80% of your damages that you might typically have if the roof is penetrated somehow, those will be gone because the roof's going to stay on. So the insurance companies are not going to be paying out as many claims. The problem with it is we were a couple of years too late with it. You probably, we did it after Ida instead of being more proactive with it. And, so many areas, I mean, I'm sure that whole Laplace and Houma Thibodeau area after Ida, they probably obtained 70% of the homeowners have new roofs. And so, it's just too late in the game. And now I got a 30-year roof. I'm not going to tear it off and put a fortified roof on. But for those who didn't, it's the opportunity is there. Look into it, spend the extra money. It's a stronger roof shingle. It's more sealing of openings in your sheathing. It's a sturdier sheathing because they put more ring shank nails in it. It's a million different components to it, but it will make such a difference in terms of the damage you may sustain and your claims history.
And also too, you do get that. Some insurance companies are giving reductions for the fortified roof, and you could shop it.
What's happening, I'm finding, because I've talked to a number of agents, you will get the opportunity to have your house, to have your claim written. I mean, your coverage written.
Yeah.
You got a fortified roof. Okay, we'll write you. Not going to be cheap, but you don't have to go to Citizens and pay that premium.
Yeah.
We'll write your coverage. So,
all right.
And I'm also looking into. Yeah, go ahead. We'll talk a little bit more about
let's
coverages
go.
and
Okay, we'll do that on the other side. Let's go to a break. Dex and Terry, Albert Nicaud, your weekend lawyers, all things legal. We'll be right back after this brief time out.
WWL, home of the
that one?
Fighting Tigers.
Who is that?
Live on the
Fleetwoods.
app.
Oh, yes.
Mr. Blue?
Yes, yeah, I know. Yes, I know the
Delivered to your phone free. Download the Odyssey app and follow your favorites. Bobby Hebert, Mike Detillier, Steve Geller. Listen when you want, how you want, or tell your smart speaker, play WWL. Breaking news about the Saints and LSU on WWL is powered by BetQL. Smarter bets start with BetQL. Download the BetQL app or visit BetQL.com today. WWL is proudly sponsored by Dudley DeBosier Injury Lawyers. Call 444-4444.
Non-attorney spokesperson, Chad Dudley, New Orleans.
Guess what, Metairie? Same-day Botox available at Weiler Plastic Surgery Group. We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that.
How long are we going to have
Advocates is different.
when we come
TRA
back?
Is here
the breaks today are very short, so we're having a lot more time on the air than we're used to.
Okay.
Usually we have usually our audio files for the full program ends up us being on the air good anywhere from 35 to 38 minutes. I wouldn't be surprised if we break 42 today. We've got an extra 6 minutes each hour or so. Breaks are just very short. Next hour, next hour we have our first break is 2.5, our second break is 3 minutes, and our final break is maybe 3 minutes, nothing over 4 or anything.
Today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800.
We're back. Yeah. Oh, dude, we'll have at least 3 minutes here. We're back in 30 seconds. We're back at 57, so we'll have tons of time.
Real solutions for real people.
Summer is here, which means pool days, beach trips, and yeah, you guessed it, traffic jams. Oh yeah, and heat waves. Don't let summer catch you by surprise. Get the local news you need, no matter what you're up to, with the free Odyssey app. And never miss a beat with alerts on breaking stories sent directly to your phone. Listen today on the free Odyssey app. That's AUDACY.
Okay.
Now, more All Things Legal, underwritten by Nicaud and Sunseri Law Firm. All advice given and opinion shared are solely those of attorneys Albert Nicaud and Doug Sunseri. Back to WWL.
Hey, we're back. Dex and Terry, Albert Nicaud, your weekend lawyers, all things legal. We're talking about the homeowners insurance crisis. Now, Albert, you want to finish your thought about certain coverages.
Yeah, we're talking about shopping for coverage. It's more than a minute's worth. But, the issue is, what about if I just want to self-insure? If my house is paid off and I want to self-insure for property coverage, or for wind damage, not the full property coverage, because of course you want fire. And are there companies out there that will write that will just allow you to self-insure for those losses? Because what's happened is some of these more expensive homes, and the deductibles have gotten up to the $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 range at 5%, and so you got a $500,000 home at a 5% deductible. You're paying the first $25,000 of any hurricane damage, and so why am I doing that? Plus, I'm paying another $5,000 or $6,000 a year in premium. I start saving it up, and I have the means to do that and cover my own property. Why are there policies out there that will allow that? And the answer is yes.
Don't worry about the clock. I'll let you know when we like 24 seconds.
Yeah.
And we'll save that teaser for a second hour. But
we all, anytime you're in business or you make these decisions, it's about risk management. It's about what risk are you comfortable with, what risk do you have covered, and what risk you don't. And basically what you do, principle, is you insure the risk that you can't bear or would cause a financial hardship. So that may be different for different people. And so, and you weigh that, because I know that, for example, we had a very high deductible before it was fashionable or required, and, didn't have anything for 20 years. And you're like, hey, that worked out okay. But it's just a risk. And so you just have to figure out, there's a benefit and there's a downside to it. So let's go to, we're going to our number ones in the can. We're going to go to national news, local news. We'll be back in 10 minutes and all things legal. We're on until 10 o'clock. So stay tuned. See you in about 10 minutes.
All right, you're good for a couple minutes.
Okay. Gotcha.
The News Talk Sports Leader. WWL New Orleans, WWL FM and HD1 Kenner New Orleans. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'm Stacey Lynn. After that deadly Israeli airstrike in Gaza yesterday, CBS's Rami Inocencio reports.
Israel's military is now strongly disputing the claim from Gaza's health ministry, which is run by Hamas, that more than 100 people were killed in an Israeli strike on a school and mosque complex turned shelter in Gaza City early Saturday morning. Now, if true, it would be one of the biggest mass killings since October 7th. In a joint statement, the Israel Defense Forces and the Israeli Air Force said the strike used aerial surveillance and intelligence and was, quote, carried out using 3 precise munitions, which it said could not do the damage that the Hamas-run government claims.
But this Palestinian woman doesn't believe that.
They are liars, 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 said this woman. There were no fighters and no one had arms. We were mostly women.
IDF spokesman Hagari.
Hamas has focused on exploiting school buildings, often where civilians are sheltering inside, to use them as military facilities, command and control centers.
Former President Trump held fundraisers in Wyoming and Colorado yesterday, but CBS's Bradley Blackburn tells us it was this moment that is grabbing attention.
Celine Dion's My Heart Will Go On played for the crowd. The singer released a statement saying, "In no way is this use authorized, and Celine Dion does not endorse this or any similar use."
After 16 days, we're getting ready for the closing ceremonies of the Summer Games.
The ceremony that's slated to last just over 2 hours will include the usual athletes parade and a medal ceremony for today's women's marathon. But it also promises an aerial show featuring more than 100 acrobats, dancers, and circus artists. California-based artists Billie Eilish, Red Hot Chili Peppers, and Snoop Dogg will perform. And then the Olympic flag will pass from Paris to LA for its 3rd games in the past century. Wendy Gillette, CBS News, Paris.
CBS's Heather Bosch reports there are some major air quality concerns from the wildfires burning out west.
You might not notice the haze and smoke, but there are signs your child with asthma is struggling. Pediatrician Nicole Johnson says,
you might notice your child breathing harder than normal. They may need to pause in the middle of a conversation and take extra breaths.
In addition to contacting your primary care provider, an N95 mask can block some of the pollutants.
And air purifiers closing doors and windows, they say, can also help. This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Hi, I'm Cesar Milan. People are always commenting on how happy and healthy my dogs are. One of the reasons is the food my dogs eat.
Introducing Dr. Marty's Nature's Blend, a premium freeze-dried raw dog food.
I have been feeding them Dr. Marty's freeze-dried raw formula for years. And this food is a big part of why their jaws are more flexible, their teeth are cleaner, and their coats shinier, and why they seem more youthful and playful.
And dog parents across the U.S. are loving it.
My dog Hazel is a 10-and-a-half-year-old golden retriever, and ever since I've been feeding her Dr. Marty's Nature's Blend food, she is like a puppy again. It's unbelievable.
We're so confident your dog will love it. Your order is backed with a 90-day guarantee. And for a limited time, save up to 54% off Nature's Blend and get a free bag of Cod Krispies. They're wild-caught, ultra-crunchy cod skin treats. Go to drmartypets.com/good or text GOOD to 511-511. Text GOOD to 511-511 today. All dogs are unique. Your dog results can and will vary. Message and data rates may apply.
If
WWL First News, I'm Chris Miller. Here's how the weekend wraps up.
We have a nice Sunday on the way. We'll have a lot of sunshine. Luckily, our humidity won't be bad again today, so that's good news, but it still will be very hot. This afternoon, our high temperatures will reach the mid-90s, but our feels-like temperatures should stay below 105 degrees.
WWL TV meteorologist Alexa Trischler will be back with the forecast. The Saints defense showed off some impressive skill in Arizona.
2nd down and 9 for Ritter at quarterback out of the shotgun. Saints bring 4 pressure, and he will go down. Desmond Ritter, Carl Granderson, Nathan Shepard. 2nd down, sack.
Voice of the Saints, Mike Haas. The Saints notched a 16-14 win over the Cardinals in Game 1 of the preseason. The next Saints game is 1 week from today in San Francisco. The Centers for Disease Control says Louisiana has twice the national average of COVID cases. WWL's Brooke Thorington reports.
Wastewater evaluation is becoming more and more commonly used to track virus infections.
That's LSU Health New Orleans infectious disease specialist Dr. Fred Lopez, and he says while we tend to think of respiratory illnesses as more of a winter problem, COVID defies that logic, especially in warm areas of the country.
Just people want to be indoors. And as they go indoors, they get closer to other people and are more easily transmitting COVID-19.
Lopez stresses that individuals who are most vulnerable to
you were talking earlier about the analogy you're using of like, you know, the
with sports,
the son marrying your daughter thing, and you said the word slut. Can you say that?
What did I say? No, I didn't say
slut. Can you say that on the
No, I
air?
didn't say that. I didn't say that.
You said slut, yeah.
What did I say? No,
it sounds exactly like slut.
No, I was.
I
was saying son. I was saying. I didn't say slug. I said a slug. I said a slug. A slug. A slug.
I can hear it.
A slug. I got.
I was like, damn, Doug. I was like, you must really not like your son-in-law.
No, I said a slug.
For 85 yards, including that highlight 58-yard catch. WWL's Deuce McAllister discussed what's next for the 2023 6th-round pick.
Well, he's going to have to continue to get a little bit more comfortable in this offense.
Slug. No.
I hear it now. Yeah, now I hear it a slug. I didn't hear the slug there.
Coaching staff has to be.
I was like, God damn, Doug. I was like, man, you really must not like your son-in-law or something.
No, I got two good ones.
I was like, this is personal.
No, I got two good ones. No, I was just saying it's just like
no. I got what you're saying.
People marry on potential, and that's a risk.
I wonder if you could say it. But no, I get it. I mean, you're investing in the future. I get that.
Like if you invest in, like if they're acting bad when you get married, or acting like making poor decisions, but you just take a risk.
I mean, it's investment.
As opposed to someone who's already
established and trending upwards and everything. I get you. I get you.
We have a
I'm
really
picking
nice
up what
Sunday
you're
on the
putting
way.
down.
We'll have a lot
That's
of
it.
sunshine. We should trend mostly dry,
Spoken
but
like
it
a
will
father
be
of
really
4
hot. High temperatures will
daughters.
get to the mid-90s this afternoon. But the good news is it's still not going to be that humid. It could certainly be a lot
You pumped
worse.
for
So we do
the
get that
next
small
Olympics to
break
be in
again
LA?
today, so make sure you enjoy it. But still
Yeah,
cool.
They got
It
like
feels
flag
temperatures
football
will
or
probably be
something.
around maybe 103
I
degrees
I
this
enjoy
afternoon.
it.
During the new work week,
It
though, it'll
comes,
be
but
oppressively
I'm not
hot
like,
because our humidity will be on the rise. It will be
give me a
extremely hot
football
and
game any
extremely
day
humid this week. Every
Yeah,
before
day,
I
that.
see the point.
temperatures are
You know
set
what
to
I'm
get to
saying?
the mid to upper 90s. It'll
So you're
probably
telling
feel like
me
up to
you would
110
maybe rather
degrees
take
as we get to the midweek
like
time frame. So
2,
sizzling hot weather on
you
the way
know,
this week. And we can see
like a
stray
4 and
showers
10
Long
team
Beach
playing
afternoon.
a 8
From
and 8
WWL
team
Louisiana, I'm meteorologist
over
Marcy Schler.
And I'm Chris
you
Miller,
know, Olympic gold
WWL
medal
First News.
track race?
From
Maybe not
WWL,
that.
the news
But
talk sports powerhouse of the
college
Great South.
football,
It's
I would
all
take
things
over the
legal with
Olympics in a
Sunseri
second.
and Albert Nicaud. Underwritten by Nicaud.
It's going to be
and
so
Sunseri
exciting
law
with the
firm.
new
Join us on
12
Yeah,
team
it
track.
is going to be fun.
Text line 504-260-1870 or connect anytime, anywhere on the Odyssey app. Now to our Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union studios in the heart of New Orleans. Here are attorneys Albert Nicaud and Doug Sunseri.
Hey, we're back. Hour number 2, Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, your weekend lawyers, all things legal. Just call us 260-1870 or text us in Oakland Heart Talk and text line at 260-1870. All right, for our schedule, we will be on the next 3 weekends. We'll be on next week, the weekend after that, and Labor Day weekend. And then after that, we will be off the entire month of September. And we'll come back October 5th.
Hey, that's like right before the Chiefs game, right?
That's right. The Chiefs play. The Saints are playing in Kansas City. Fortunately, we're not playing in Kansas City in December, so the weather should be good. And then we'll be off again the following week on the 13th. We'll be back December 20th, I think, because we play the Broncos on a Thursday night on October 17th, and then we'll be off a bunch.
You know what? August 25th, though, Doug, the Saints play at 1 p.m. in the Caesars Superdome.
Oh,
so it's not a noon. Yeah, it's not a noon game, but it's a Sunday 1 p.m. game.
Yeah, we might not be on then.
We may not be on at all, or just maybe for an hour, or whatever the case may be. But yeah, they do play. They're playing preseason games on Sunday now. So
that's right. That's right. I'm looking at that. You're right. You're right. Yeah. So they play at 1 o'clock.
49ers game at 5 p.m. on a Sunday next week, and then the August 25th game is a Sunday at 1 p.m. game. So we may, in fact, be off that weekend.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
Okay. So that's true. We'll to be determined. And the Saints used to play in Tulane Stadium at 1 o'clock. Because what they would do was, if you had a part of a doubleheader, you would start at 12. But if you weren't part of the CBS doubleheader, you would play at 1. And the Saints weren't in that time playing in a lot of doubleheaders because it wasn't enough. They weren't winning, is the short version. So I remember those 1 o'clock games. Because I remember the 1 o'clock games because we could go to I'm trying to think. We used to drive across town for Saints games to Father St. Pius was Father Screen, and he had the 25-minute mass on Saints games, and so that we could go. I think he had it at 10:30, and if I'm not mistaken,
it was almost like drive-through communion.
Right. He was quick. He used the shortest Eucharistic prayer, number 2, which is the shortest. And then he would skip a few things that you would normally have in Sunday Mass, like the confession in the beginning of Mass. And his sermon,
2-minute homily.
right? His sermon was "Love your neighbor, go Saints," and then he was off to the liturgy. He was off to the next phase. So, but that in that way, if we went to Father Screen at St. Pius, we knew we'd get to the Saints game in plenty of time. Whereas, we had some of the other priests who had no idea that the Saints were playing, And,
Right.
they just, they had that 20-minute sermon. It was just, it was just too much. But anyway,
Yeah, get back to our discussion. One of the things that I've been asking, getting back to the law, right, and all things legal. In our discussion, we were talking about, maybe self-insuring for a portion of your, homeowner's policy,
yes,
right?
yes.
And you want to be careful if you do self-insure. And this is what I'm trying to find, and I've asked a number of agents to look. If we have any insurance agents listening that might have this type of product, please call me or call the station, 260-1870, and we'll let us know. But I want to see if there.
We got a text that you might want to take a look at. The most recent one would be perfect for Albert.
Storm exclusion, right? Not wind, because wind includes, just a regular 20-mile-an-hour wind, and it also includes a tornado.
Most recent one about real estate.
You've got this home that, let's say you've got $1 million home for, and you want to.
Good question.
And you've got $100,000 or $50,000 deductible because you've got this big expensive home, and you want to just insure or self-insure in case there's a named storm, but you don't want to self-insure for a tornado. So there's these wind exclusions, but I want to see if there are named storm exclusions under the policy that you can just say, look, I want a named storm exclusion. So if there's a named storm that's hurricane such and such, then I don't want any coverage. I'll self-insure for that. And I'm trying to search for that because my deductible's gotten so ridiculously high that it's crazy. And I know there are a number of people that are in my situation that are like, why am I insuring for a hurricane when I got to come up with the first $20,000 of coverage, or 30 or 40 or 50 or whatever the number is. So I'm trying to find that coverage. I know I can do it and exclude all wind, but I still would like, tornado coverage. So maybe there's some sort of endorsement where, you can get tornado coverage, so whether it's a wind exclusion, but add back the tornado coverage. I don't know. And I'm just trying to find that. And if so, I would like to, I'd like to see about purchasing that, what kind of premium, how much money I would save. And again, like you talked about before the break, is risk assessment. How much risk am I willing to take on my own as opposed to have insured?
And I think a lot has to do with risk tolerance also.
Or your ability to do it, right? Because if you got a mortgage, they're not going to allow you to do that. Right. So your mortgage company will say, no, sorry, you've got to insure for the full boat. And if you don't, we're gonna force place you, which is even a more expensive policy.
For less coverage.
They're going to buy the coverage.
And it's less coverage.
Yeah.
And so, also too, I mean, you have the same issues sort of in a different context, like with car insurance. Because if your deductible's higher, $1,000, you'll get a substantial break. Not substantial, but you'll get a break on your premium, as opposed to having a deductible that's $100 or $250. You just have to figure out what risk are you willing to sustain and what risk you're not willing to deal with. And
right, yeah. I mean, if you've got a $20,000 deductible because your house is valued at $800,000, and you're paying an extra $7,000-8,000 a year for that hurricane coverage that makes you buy the first $20,000 of damage. It might be after 2 or 3 years, it might be worth it to you. You got your money back on your deductible by just doing that, that first 2 or 3 years of coverage. So it's just something to look into and do the math on. And, again, if there are any policies out there that can be written that way, give the office a call. I mean, give the station a call, 260-1870, and let us know, because I know a lot of people that listen may be interested in that.
Okay, we got a text that says, do you think insurance companies overvalue the home to rebuild so that they can charge a higher deductible for wind and hail and named storms?
Absolutely. I'm shopping my policy right now. There, again, this is not including the land, okay? Because I live in Old Metairie.
Remember the other text beneath that one?
Saying that it's $400 per square foot. $400 a square foot to rebuild. It's crazy. It's crazy. You know, the wood and sheetrock and roof and everything else that goes in my house, you know, regardless of where it is, should cost the same. And so, you know, so if you might have a little nicer kitchen or bathroom or whatever the case may be, but it's crazy that, you know, they're going to charge that kind of money and value your home. Basically, what they're saying is they don't want to insure it. You know, go find something else because we're gonna force you at that rate per square foot to you know, to insure your home. So what that does, so let's say they value your $500,000 home at $1 million, right? Now all of a sudden your deductible is twice as much. So if you got a 5% deductible instead of going $25,000, they value your house at $1 million. Now you're at you know, $50,000 deductible. It's just stupid. But yes, they are absolutely doing that. And keep in mind, when they value your home, they're valuing just the cost to rebuild. They're not valuing the land. You know, and I mean, I'm sure people have checked land values in Old Metairie. It's very pricey, but you know, they've gone up and all that sort of thing. But it's just craziness.
Let's take a break. I got a good caller.
That this insurance company that I'm with now is looking at a $400 per square foot replacement cost value.
Okay.
I mean, that's crazy.
All right, we're going to take a break. We got a caller who's, I think, ducktailing on this subject. We'll be right back. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, your Weekend Lawyers, all things legal. We'll be right back after this brief time out.
My thrill on Blueberry Hill.
WWL, home of your
not ducktailing off of this project or this conversation, starting up a whole new thing, but it was a good one, and I kind of wanted to use the break as a physical separation between what we're talking about and what they're talking about. It's a beefy call. I want to give her the time. It is. Are you ready? You got pen and paper or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay, so it is Kathy. She didn't want to go by her real name, so Kathy from Lafayette.
Develop some young players. Some young players are going to.
She owns a rental property. She had a tenant that had to be evicted. The tenant was in a bad car wreck near the end of July. Something about them now being in like a long-term mental institution, but their wrecked car was left on her property. She wants to know what legal ramifications would happen if she gets rid of the property and gets rid of the car on the property because she's trying to sell the property. She also wants to know, like, can she move the car or anything like that? It's not her car, but it is on her property and all that.
Okay, gotcha.
Or reach out to us at
Again, it's Kathy from Lafayette.
That's GEAUX taxresolution.com.
Hi, this is Sam with Go Tax Resolution. Are you overwhelmed with tax notices and don't know where to turn? Well, Go Tax Resolution has former IRS agents that specialize in tax and will find the best solution for you. Give Go Tax Resolution a call today to schedule your consultation and make this the year to take back control. That's 985-722-1040 or visit us at gotaxresolution.com. That's GEAUX taxresolution.com.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6481. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6481. That's 800-575-6481. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
All Things Legal with Doug Sunseri and Albert Nicaud on WWL and Odyssey Station. Connect now on the York Winhart Jewelers Talk and Text line, 504-260-1870.
Hey, we're back. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, your weekend lawyers, all things legal. I said we had a caller to ducktail in our conversation. Not really. We do have a caller, but it's on a little different issue. It's Kathy from Lafayette. She's got a problem on her rental property, which is very unique. Hey, Kathy, you're on All Things Legal. How can we help you?
Good morning. So I own a rental property in Lafayette. The person who was living there sustained a severe automobile accident at the end of July and is in a 90-day recovery center outside of the city somewhere in Louisiana. The wrecked vehicle is sitting in my driveway, and I've got to get it off. I'm selling the property, and I need to know what my legal rights are for removing it.
Well, I mean, has the lease been terminated?
There was never a lease. It was just a verbal thing. It was a family member, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. Well, you certainly can tow a vehicle. What I would do is I would tell them, look, you got to get the vehicle off the property by X amount. If not, we're going to have it towed to a yard, and they're going to charge your storage for it, et cetera. Yeah. And if they don't, it's on your private property. You have the right to have that vehicle removed to a different place.
It's that easy. Okay, good. That makes my life a lot easier. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for the call. All right, we have another text that asks, I want to rent my house to a tenant. Who do I go see to get a lease made? Do I see a real estate agent or an attorney?
I think you'd be better off with an attorney and probably establishing a relationship with an attorney if you own rental property. I represent a number of different landlords and property management companies, et cetera, and you'll be surprised how often I'll get a text or an email saying, hey, look, I've got this issue. What do I do? And you just kind of keep somebody on retainer for those basic questions.
Check
again,
chat.
If you
I put in the next caller's info.
Go see a real estate agent.
It's pronounced Cleon. We've had her on before.
Probably just going to give you a standard lease that was prepared by.
She's calling from Pearl River, Mississippi. The property's in Illinois. She understands we're from Louisiana and everything, but she said state taxes are state taxes, and that she'd hope you could get just some generic information. No,
it's not going to be.
Try it. So that's what I was saying. Like worst case scenario, we tell her, hey, we don't know enough, or she wasn't wanting specific penal codes, just kind of like general guidance.
As a landlord, if you want to maybe make the lease a little more favorable to you, a lawyer can tweak that and do that for you. Whereas the realtors, it may be more favorable to the tenant. Who knows? So I would suggest that, as opposed to
preface that we don't know much about Illinois law, and she's like, good, that's fine, just general guidance.
Market it for you, et cetera, and collect a commission on renting. And which, look, they do a great job, and I've used them in the past, and it saves you the trouble of having to go out there and market the property and show the property and go there, go spend a lot of time with it. So it's certainly a value to that, and a lot of them are very good at it.
Okay, let me ask you a couple of questions. If you're a renter, you're a first-time renter, or you're signing a lease as a tenant, what are some of the provisions you should look for that you may want to, be conscious about, or something that could come back and haunt you on the back end that you may want to address?
If you're a tenant?
Yeah, if you're a tenant.
Well, one of the things is an attorney fee provision for that's only one-sided, right? So if they say, look, if you breach the lease, tenant landlord can get attorney's fees as a result. I would see about making that reciprocal. if for some reason they breach the lease, the landlord breaches the lease, and they're supposed to in the lease cover repairs to the air conditioning system. All of a sudden, your air conditioner goes out, and they don't fix it for 3 months in the summer, and you're sweating and dying, and there should be a provision in the lease that will allow you to contact an attorney and have them demand it and to have your attorney's fees paid. That's the other thing. Maintenance is a big issue, right? Who is going to maintain the premises? In a commercial lease, you often have what's called a triple net lease, which means that the lease is net of certain obligations. And a triple net usually means the tenant will pay the property taxes, and the tenant will pay the insurance, and the tenant will pay the maintenance, with the exception of possibly the roof or the foundation or structure. And so in a residential lease, typically the landlord will pay the property taxes, the insurance, and the maintenance on the property, or some of the maintenance. And again, if you're throwing things down the toilet, you're not supposed to throw down the toilet, and the plumbing backs up. I had an issue with a tenant where they were pouring grease down the sink. They'd fry a big whatever and then pour the grease down the sink. And the sink was getting, globbed up. I mean, the drain was getting clogged up, the sewer line. So I'd have to get it blown out. And that's what the plumber would tell me. Hey, look, this is what's happening. So I had to tell him, look, next time it's on you. I'm not paying the $175 to have the sewer line blown out. And so those are the kinds of things that sometimes are case by case. But if you could have it in there that, you caused the damage. For instance, there's an issue with your air conditioner, but you hadn't changed the filter. Whose job is it to change the filter on a monthly basis? Make sure that's in the lease. And if I know some landlords that say, no, I want to change the filters, because what that does is gives me the opportunity to go to each of my units and check them out once a month. Make sure that they're keeping this repaired, make sure it's not a mess, make sure there's no junk in the front yard, and all that sort of thing. And so he uses that opportunity to change the AC filters to keep his air conditioning running properly, but also to check on the premises. So, keep in mind that, with very few exceptions, the lease is the law between the parties, just like most contracts, right? And unless it's against public policies, the court's going to interpret them as written. So the first piece of advice to a tenant is read your lease carefully. Know exactly what you're looking at, what your responsibilities are under the lease. And if you want to get out of the lease, some leases automatically renew. If you don't give me notice within 60 days prior to the end of the term, it's going to automatically renew for another year. Well, gee whiz, I didn't see that. Oh, well, but you're now on the hook because the lease said you needed to give me written notice by a certain date. So there's a lot of little tricks and things to look at. But number one, read the lease, make sure you understand what it says. And if you don't, sit with a lawyer. It might be worth it for, a couple $100 to sit down and go over it and make sure that you understand everything that you're signing. The same thing with any document, right? Whether a building contract, a lease, a operating agreement, whatever kind of agreement you're signing, it's a real good idea to make sure you know what you're signing, because you're going to be held to it. You can't say, oh, I didn't understand that. Oh, I didn't read that. I didn't realize that. Well, too bad you signed it.
All right. Okay, I'm going to ask you a question on the other side. If you're a first-time landlord, what are some of the provisions that you want to make sure that you get in there to protect yourself?
Well, what I typically do, I'll have I'll refer into the a cleaning schedule, right? So I don't want to just put the standard broom clean language.
We can hit the caller this break. We don't have to go to a break.
It needs to be broom clean, right? No, it needs to be more than broom clean. I want all the light bulbs replaced. I don't want people taking light bulbs out or leaving bad light bulbs in, so where now I've got to go spend money, time, and effort to change light bulbs. It sounds simple, but it's a pain. And a cleaning list. I want the stove and the oven cleaned. If you don't, it's going to be $150 to do that. I want the windowsills wiped out. I want the floors swept and mopped. I want the area clean. I don't want it left to what is usual wear and tear, because what does that mean? Who knows what usual wear and tear means? So I give them a list and a cost for what it's, if we have to go in and mop all the floors, it's another $75, and it's expensive, and it means that we don't want to do it. We don't want to have to go through all that. If the tub's filthy, well, it's going to cost money to go in and clean it, and it's going to come out of your deposit. And you let them know up front that, hey, look, we want this place maintained, and on your exiting, if you want your deposit back, you better have this place cleaned up. Yeah. You don't want gunk at the bottom of the refrigerator and in the refrigerator drawers that, now I've got to pay somebody to go take care of.
So the moral is read your lease. If you're a landlord
read
or tenant.
Lease or any document.
Yeah, read because you don't want to be surprised when something happens. All right, let's go to phone lines. Let's go to Cleon. Got a question regarding inheriting a piece of property and the taxes associated with it. Hey, Cleon, you're on All Things Legal. What can we do for you?
Good morning. This is not a legal but a financial question, but you are so informed. Thank you for indulging me by running it past you. But I inherited a piece of property. Neither I nor this piece of property is in Louisiana. It's a fairly vague question. But when we moved to Mississippi, folks were burning houses for fun and profit. So we decided to self-insure. Well, many, many years later, I'm on my own and unable to do all the repairs that the two of us used to be able to do. And what I have been doing, and what I want to ask your opinion of the wisdom of, is if I had sold this piece of property in another state that has appreciated ridiculously, oh, gee whiz, it would sell for probably 5 times the value of my house if my house were wiped off the map. So what I'm doing, my idea of self-insurance is I'm hanging on to that property because the little bit of farmer's rent more than covers the taxes, and treating it as insurance in case my house here does get wiped off the property, then selling that. Does that make any sense to you?
Well, okay, yeah, and what is your question?
Does it make better sense to self-insure by paying, to pay an insurance company and hang on to this ridiculously overpriced piece of land in another state, or does it make sense to hold on to a property that is appreciated ridiculously when selling it would give away maybe half of it in taxes, and to just sit on it and be my own insurance company?
All right, let's talk about selling it. If you sell it, at the moment, capital gains taxes are at about 20%. So if you bought it for $100,000 and it's worth $500,000 now, you will pay a 20% tax on the gain, on the $400,000 profit.
Is Albert talking about this tax being Louisiana specific? Okay, good. Like countrywide? Good.
That's your issue.
I wanted to be clear that she told me this piece of property is in Illinois, and she currently lives in Mississippi.
It's a whole different deal. But if it's just a piece of property that's being rented, then you'll pay a capital gains tax on the sale. How far away from the coast is the property located in Mississippi?
Well, where I live is up off the coastal plain.
It's in Illinois, yeah.
It's just a question of,
the property.
Mississippi property, right?
She's from Mississippi. I think the property's in Illinois. Is that correct?
Right. Correct.
But the property's in Illinois.
Oh, I'm sorry. Backwards. I thought the property.
Does my sense? Yeah. No. Houses in Mississippi, appreciated land is in Illinois. Am I making sense?
Yes.
When I hang on to the property in Illinois and be my own insurance company.
Well, you run the risk, right? That was Douglas Park talking about before. What's your risk assessment, right? So if somebody, if it catches fire, right, because you've got some tenant in there and they smoked a cigarette in bed and burns to the ground, then you've lost the value of the structure on that property. So is it worth at least having a fire policy on it? To where, and those are usually very cheap in comparison to the coverage that you get. And you certainly want a liability policy, because if your hot water heater is damaged and somebody's sleeping and catches fire and that person dies, then now you might have a liability question on your hand, and they can sue you personally for damages, and you don't have any insurance to protect you from the liability side. So I would at least get insurance for liability and fire, depending on the area. Homeowners coverage, you have to weigh that risk, but I would be insured for fire and liability.
Thank you for indulging me. I appreciate it.
All right, thanks for the
Yes,
call.
ma'am.
I want to pivot to a question about umbrella coverage, and we're talking about insurance, and if you could tell the audience what is umbrella coverage that is available to people for losses beyond maybe their car insurance. Not necessarily this would apply to their homeowners insurance, but what is umbrella coverage, and how does that work?
Well, umbrella coverage is exactly that. It's an umbrella over all of your risks and liabilities personally, right? So and they will have a minimum when they write an umbrella policy. Let's say you want $1 million umbrella policy over and above your existing coverages. Some insurance companies will say you got to have at least $100,000 in coverage below it. Some will say it's got to be $300,000, right? And so what it'll do is it will cover you for liability.
We can head a break after this. I got 2 more callers.
As a homeowner, it will cover you for liability in your vehicle as well. So anything in excess of your coverages, and it's an umbrella, so it extends beyond multiple policies. For instance, I have an umbrella policy, so I've got to have a minimum amount of coverage on my boat. I have to have a minimum amount of coverage on my residence. I've got to have a minimal amount of coverage on my vehicles. And then once that happens, then that insurance will kick in the event that there's a judgment or a claim in excess of my original policy limits for my various coverages.
There you go. All right.
And it's usually pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
What it does is it prevents people from, hitting at least that portion of your nest egg if you've got money saved or property or whatever that could be seized. This is just an extra protection, extra layer of coverage.
There you go. All right, let's go to a break. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, your weekend lawyers, all things legal. We'll be right back after this brief timeout.
Why don't you please me? Then show me. WWL.
All right, you want the other 2? What's it called?
Yes.
Always.
So up next, we're going to have.
WWL is now the official home of your New Orleans.
All right, so we're swimming in callers. Next up is Toto, just like the band from
Toto.
the 80s, like Africa. She's blessing the rains. Toto is calling from she's calling from Metairie. She's got a house in Chalmette. Neighbor's oak tree is intruding on her property, and the neighbor refuses to cut it. She wants to know what she can do.
All right, gotcha.
A little tinny.
Huh?
Okay.
2 seconds.
And
then following that, we have Jimmy from Metairie. This is a doozy, something we haven't covered before. It's less on the property side. He's wondering, how much can my mother gift her siblings without any tax ramifications?
You get the same advanced hearing aid technology and professional support you expect from a clinic at a fraction of the cost. And if you have any issues, we'll make adjustments 7 days a week, no charge. Oh, you people are wonderful. Our premium package includes hearing aids.
I don't know what happened. We kind of the second hour started and we just had caller.
There you go.
100-day money back
better
guarantee.
one.
I hear better than I ever thought possible.
Save $300 on Enhanced Select 500.
No, because I mean it's more varied. It's more varied, and like sometimes we go over the same thing. I can't tell you how many times I've had segments where it's just Albert saying, "Guys, get a fortified roof." Like I can't tell you how many times, but I mean we circle back to it because it's how important it is. But it's nice to have the callers.
Let's talk about expert, and I'm here to tell you that there is a way out.
And again, these breaks are really short. This is our 40 break, so after this we have one more break. We could probably take both of these callers here because this break is done in about a minute, and our next break is...
Call Wesley now for your free info kit. 800-790-1400.
Our next break is about 2.5 minutes.
Can be scary, but only if you're not prepared. That's why AARP created thisispretirement.org. Because unless you've already retired, you're in pretirement, and you still have time to plan. Learn about retirement savings options, potential tax breaks, and how you can build savings over time. Visit thisispretirement.org.
What do you want music-wise?
For resources to help you customize your action
NFL
plan.
films.
And
Let's get in.
Again,
I'm football. I'm football, man.
Brought
I'm just
to you by
football.
AARP and the Ad Council.
Or you could do the Olympics.
I'm sticking with the NFL film. I'm liking it too.
Pool days, beach trips, and yeah, you guessed it, traffic jams. Oh yeah, and heat waves. Don't let summer catch you by surprise. Get the local news you need, no matter what you're up to, with the free Odyssey app, and never miss a beat with alerts on breaking sports.
All right, here we go.
Sent directly to your phone.
Come back.
Listen today on the free Odyssey app. That's AUDACY.
All things legal on WWL.
This is like my go-to.
Sunseri now on the Oakland Heart Jewelers talk and text line. 504-260-1870. And don't forget to rewind on the Odyssey app.
All right, we're back. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, your weekend lawyers, all things legal. Let's go to Toto. Got a question about a tree. We hadn't had a tree question in nearly 2 weeks. What do you have for us, Toto?
Yes, so I have a neighbor oak tree that is intruding on top of my roof. And I talked to him, and even though he's on his deathbed, he's still screaming, yeah. And he said that's the oak tree. It's a protected tree. I cannot touch it. If I touch it, then he's going to get me arrested. So I talked to the Chalmette Parish, and they told me to get a license for $25 to cut it. If I want to get the money from him, I have to sue him in civil court. And I talked to a lawyer, and he said that he can write the neighbor a letter, but suing him is costing me more money. And I talked to the arborist, and some arborist said that I need to sue him in court. If I touch his tree, I can be sued by him. But some arborists say that because the tree is on top of my property, I have the right to cut it. So I kind of like, now I'm like, should I sue him in the small claim court, or should I get a license, or should I just go ahead and cut it and get him sue me and I counter sue him? So I don't know what to do.
All right, Albert.
Okay, so if the tree trunk is on the neighbor's property, you send him a letter. I would send it certified, demanding that, explaining why, but demanding that the tree be trimmed, not cut down, but trimmed. If he refuses to do so, then you should file a claim in, what parish are you in?
St. Bernard. St. Bernard.
St. Bernard Parish.
In the parish.
St. Bernard. Yeah, so you go to the Justice of the Peace and file a claim with the Justice of the Peace Court, and the Justice of the Peace Court will take photographs and everything else. And if the ruling is proper, the Justice of the Peace will file a judgment requiring that he remove that tree, or have it trimmed and pay for it. You cannot remove his tree. That's his property, even though it's hanging over your property line. So if you cut the tree without permission, you could be held liable for the decreased value of the tree and triple damages and attorney's fees for enforcing it. So you don't want to do that. You want to just go by see what you can do and say, hey, look, I just need it trimmed. Just trim this limb off of here, and we'll be fine. I don't mind the shade, but I don't want it banging up against my roof the next windstorm. Save a copy of that letter, because what that will do is, if that tree somehow damages your property during a storm, he's been put on notice that the tree could damage your property, and as a result, he becomes then responsible for any damages that may have occurred to your home as a result. So it's important to send the letter, keep a copy of it, make sure it's dated. And so if you need, and keep a copy of the certified mail receipt, and bring it to the Justice of the Peace and get a judgment compelling him to remove the tree. And then if he doesn't do it, you can always bring him back into court for a contempt hearing. And, depending on what happens, the judge is going to have to do that. So you might have to go to the district court in St. Bernard Parish to get it done. But they may very well arrest him and tell him, look, we're gonna arrest you and hold you until you pay to get this tree removed, or get at least the offending branches removed.
All right.
Okay. And I also have another question. So, I'm pretty sure he's not going to pay because he's in his deathbed. When I go to small claim court, can I attach it to the lien on the house or something? Because he's really adamant of not touching the tree at all.
Well, so you're going to get a judgment, but it's not going to be a money judgment. It would be a judgment, like an injunction, basically. It's a mandatory injunction to have him cut that tree down. And if he doesn't, then the remedy is having him held in contempt of court.
When Albert ends it, say thank you, and we're going to go straight to Jimmy and Metairie.
Okay. You'll have to do that in district court in St. Bernard. So it's going to cost you a little money, unfortunately, but you don't want to cut someone's tree down without permission, because then you get stuck with the lost value of the tree. So that's the route you need to take.
All right, Toto. Thanks for the call. Let's go to Jimmy. Jimmy, what do you have for us?
Yeah, quick question. Do you know how much you can legally gift a person within IRS guidelines that would be tax-free to both the giver and the receiver?
$18,000 this year.
$18,000, no
per year.
questions asked.
Yeah. Now, do you have a wife?
Yes.
Well, if you want to combine the gift, you can do 36. In other words, so if you and your wife wanted to give a gift, you could go up to 36,000. One person.
Okay. Right. And if you want to give a gift to your son-in-law and your daughter, you can make it 36,000 for each of you. Right? Because you can give 18 to the son-in-law, 18 to the daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay, that's great. Because I'm kind of worried what the Democrats are going to do if they get in.
What the hell?
Well, I will tell you this: the exemption, the federal death tax in 2026 is supposed to go down to 7 million, or somewhere around 7 million from around 13 million. So
yeah, it's 36, right?
Yeah, 13. Yeah. So you do always have to keep an eye on that, because it was very interesting. In 2009, they had a sunset provision, whereas 2010 they had no death tax or federal death tax, and it was supposed to go down to 1 million in 2011 or 12. And people did a lot of planning, moving money around, and it turned out that Congress came in and raised it back up to over $10 million. But I think it's a good idea to sort of keep an eye on, the politics of this, in the sense that, if there's bills in Congress next year, and depending on who the president is and the composition of Congress, if that death tax does get lowered, there's some things that you may want to do, and some people may want to do in certain situations to address that. So who knows? 2 years in politics is a lifetime. So you really don't know what's going to happen. But it's a good idea just to be aware of it because, and there are some vehicles and things you can do to sort of maneuver ahead of that if you're in that situation. But for the present time, you and your wife could donate $36,000 collectively to anybody you want a piece, and it's often a good idea to do that. All right, thanks for the call. Let's go to our final break. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, your weekend lawyers, all things legal. We'll be right back after this brief time out.
WWL, home of Saints legends Bobby Hebert and Deuce McAllister.
Dude, I'm digging through the text line from yesterday.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
What?
The dichotomy of man. There's a text that got sent at 3:21 that says, why don't you take a break from Saints talk and talk about how the U.S. men's basketball team are doing? And then 18 minutes later, someone says, someone needs to tell Charlie it's fucking Saints pregame, bro. We don't want to hear shit about Team USA. This ain't sports talk, homie. This is game day.
Yeah,
it's like someone asked to talk about something, and the next text is literally, don't talk about this thing. I want to go back to the other thing.
No, I know.
Like, you can't win, man. You can't please everybody.
We get that.
Sponsored
we
by
get that off.
Dudley DeBosier.
Oh my God.
What's going on with the women's Olympic team, girls?
We are
so
the
dumb.
soldiers of the
Otherwise,
they
yeah,
won.
I was
They won.
glad things picked up in the second hour. We covered so much this hour.
Yeah.
While we serve part-time, we are learning
What is the
valuable
score
life and job
for the
skills. We are earning money for
women's
college,
Olympic right
for trade
now?
and technical schools, and for
Let's see.
certifications. We are proud to serve both our country and our home state. We are your Louisiana Army National Guard.
Oh,
Sponsored by the Louisiana Army National
8 minutes
Guard.
to go in
Aired
the
by
fourth.
Louisiana
The United
Association of
States is only
Broadcasters
winning
and this station.
47-45 against France in the women's gold.
LA121
I think Caitlin Clark, if she was on the team, they wouldn't have that problem.
Rejuvenate your weekends with Rejuvame. RejuvameMedical.com.
Flow Resources, complete employer solutions. FlowResources.com.
Philo's got a world of entertainment for you to explore with just one subscription.
Nope.
Sign up
Any
today
callers?
and start watching all the networks you love, like A&E, MTV, Discovery, Lifetime, Hallmark Channel, and so much more. Featuring current seasons of all the best drama, true crime, reality, and family-friendly shows you can't afford to miss. And with up to 3 streams at once, you'll never have to fight about what to watch. Get started today and unlock our library of over 75,000 movies and shows, and save all your favorites with the unlimited DVR so you can rewatch them anytime, anywhere for up to a year. Philo now
No callers at the moment, so we can do whatever we want here. Have you decided if you're doing a show that Sunday morning when you're in Vegas?
Killing Eve, Orphan Black, and tons of
I
blockbuster
might call
movies.
in
There
at
are no contracts,
No,
no.
It might just be like you and Albert on the phones.
For just $28
I'm
a
not gonna
month,
bring my
Philo's
set.
a better way
I
to
might
watch
let Albert
TV.
get a guest
So
for the
what are
first
you waiting
hour.
for? Visit
Because I'm going to be out
philo.tv
late
and
that
sign
night.
up
I don't
today
want
to
to get up
start your
at
7-day free
5:30
trial.
to.
You'll be out very late.
ILO.tv.
I'm going to go see Michael Jackson the night before.
All things legal on WWL.
There you go.
AM, FM.
And you're in Vegas. Come on, that's what you're supposed to do.
That's it.
Connect with Doug Sunseri and Albert Nicaud.
Again, no callers though, so we can talk sports. We can talk
we're
whatever we
gonna
want here.
260-1870.
Hey, we're back. Doug Sunseri, Albert Nicaud, your weekend lawyers, all things legal. So we'll be back next weekend. And then the following weekend, we're up in the air. And then they got the Labor Day. Albert, I'm going to be, for Labor Day, I'm going to be in Las Vegas. And Las Vegas is 2 hours behind. So I might have to get you to get a guest the first hour. Because
that won't be a problem. Yeah, you don't want to start at 6 p.m.
I might call in at 7 because I'm going to see my.
They actually play that morning, right? They play that day on Sunday.
They play at 4:30. They play. Let's see, 6:30 Eastern time, 5:30 our time, and I think it's
Pacific time will be at 4:30. 2
3:30.
hours behind.
Yeah.
But they play on Sunday, not
they
on
play
Saturday.
Sunday. Yeah, right. They play on Sunday.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to see Michael Jackson Saturday night. Circus. The circus. I forgot what you call it.
The Michael Jackson tribute, right?
Yeah. Well, yes. Circus Soleil. And I think, we're sort of lined up, and we're torn between Shania Twain and Donny Osmond. So we went with Shania Twain on Friday night. Probably a good show. But you know,
yeah, that's a better choice than Donny Osmond. But, yeah.
He's actually got a good show. I was sort of partial to Donny Osmond, but he was Shania Twain.
Are you gonna partake in any of the Vegas activities out there? Any gambling or?
Well, I mean, I'll play a little blackjack. I mean, I'm sure Las Vegas is never going to be the same after having 40,000 LSU fans there that weekend, or 20,000, however it's going to show up. But I think it'll be nice. I'm excited about the game. LSU and USC have similar issues. We both have struggling defenses that we're trying to put together. I think we coming off of having two of the best quarterbacks in the in college football last year, Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels. I think we're a little ahead with Garrett Nussmeier as far as quarterbacks are concerned, but it could be one of those games where it could be one of those high scoring games. It just depends on
over under is 62.5.
Over under 62.5. So there you go. But I think it'll be a lot of fun. I think it's just going to be a fun weekend. And it's always interesting when LSU plays like a UCLA or USC, because we don't get to play them very often. It seems you have two storied college programs that don't often play. I think the last time we played them is in 1980. In the early 80s, if I'm not mistaken. We played them in 1979 when they were number one at Tiger Stadium, Charlie McClendon's last year. And it was a 17-12 game. They were actually in position to win, and there was a controversial personal foul penalty. It was called against Benji Thibodeau against Paul McDonald, the quarterback, and they got life and they scored a final drive. So I'm looking forward to it.
Last matchup was 1985. LSU won 23-3.
Yes, and that was in California. That was in I think in LA.
Say USC was the home team.
Yeah, USC was the home team. Right. So that was I do remember that game. So LSU it's almost, it'll have a bowl game atmosphere. And I think it's a great way to start the year, and it'd just be interesting. It'll be a great event. That's all I can say. But you may have to get a guest for that. I'll call in at, I guess, our 7 o'clock our time. Albert, we're closing out. Any parting shots?
No, just have a great week. Stay cool. And if you have any questions, call us at the office, 837-1304. We're happy to chat with you.
All right. So we'll see you next week on All Things Legal. Have a wonderful week. Stay cool. See you next week.
Good job today, Doug.
Thank you. I butchered all those names.
Hey, I'll keep you honest with them, man. You'll be fine, and we'll have a really good show. I'm really praying that we get some Pelicans news this week, because it has been very quiet on that front. And I know that an 82-game schedule